Chelsea are clearly looking to add another pocket player in this window, already being linked with Xavi Simons, but now also with Fermin Lopez. So why is it they're looking at the Barcelona Academy product? So when it comes to Fermin Lopez, we've got up the tactics board now with some sort of media that we can talk about of his things and what he does. Because how good he is inside the box is something that is absolutely key as to why I think Chelsea want him and why I think Enzo Maresca would want him so badly. And I do think that this move is probably engineered by Maresca. If we were to get Fermin Lopez, he feels like a target that Maresca would be looking for himself, because we've seen it with Enzo Fernandez and the usage we've seen of him in the last year under Enzo Maresca. And Fermin Lopez, his interpretation of space and arriving in these areas to score goals in this sense, but like whether it's a header, whether it's a late arrival in the box, it's something that's so important, especially when you have other strikers and attackers that take away so much gravity. We spoke about this already in the past with players like Delap, and you saw how João Pedro was able to sort of arrive in that space as the secondary attacker. Fermin Lopez, in terms of being that box-crashing central midfielder, central attacking midfielder, who can sort of arrive as that secondary man with less coverage, but also, you look here, instead of just sort of waiting around, look at how many bodies are surrounding him in this scenario. You've got 5 bodies in and around him, and he's the one sort of making that movement to attack in behind the defenders, expressing where he thinks that ball is going to arrive, and he's got a knack for it. Again, we see it again here. Look, you've got the defensive line sort of all inside the box. You've got 3, and you've got 2 sort of players attacking in between those 2. Lopez is this one here. But again, he's always sort of on the gamble. He's ready to attack into that space. And again, you see him sort of getting up, getting a header and scoring a goal from here. And it's these moments that will be key for not only breaking down a low block, but he's perfect in transition because he can interpret that space ahead of him that he's got to attack into. But also against low blocks because he can be that secondary box attacker. He's good in the air when he sort of arrives on the ball. His timing is brilliant. If we go back to here again, you've got, and this is something we saw a lot with Delap at the weekend, you've got sort of Delap, this would be the striker who is dragging those defenders away from the ball. They're sort of retreating towards their own goal in these players. And then what you've got is Fermin, who just, again, he knows the interpretation of space. He knows where he wants that ball to arrive. And he's going to arrive in this space where that ball is coming across from. And it allows him to just get that sort of first-time shot away on goal. And his ball striking is so, so good. And you can see it from, this is an example here of how he sort of shapes up to hit it from outside the box. His ability to get his body over the ball, generate power into that bottom corner, but also he has the ability to sort of curl one into the far top corner. And it's these sort of qualities that he has inside the box, outside the box. And it makes him a goal threat no matter where he is on the pitch. And again, look, this one I absolutely love because, again, we've got players who are dropping in, and this is something that we see a lot with Chelsea's players. You've got the wingers who will sort of drop off. You've got the striker, again, João Pedro, Liam Delap, who's dropping and making this sort of defensive line, their intentions at that point are to move forwards to sort of keep their line. But you've got somebody who's got that sort of turn of speed of thought, but also that relentless running capacity and interpretation of space. He knows that they're all going to move forward. He wants to move against the tide. He wants to go against the momentum and attack that space in behind. And it's something you often see. Having that sort of that deep runner from midfield is so, so key. And I think having him in a team with players like Delap, Pedro, Palmer, Esteval, all these players that will sort of force the opposition defense to step up and away, and you have somebody like Fermin who is ready to sort of beat those boundaries with runs in behind, could be absolutely crucial for Chelsea. Again, here you've got a lot of play. You've got the pinning happening here. You've got all these players sort of, they're shifting forward, ready to put pressure on the ball. These players here. But again, where's Fermin Lopez? What is he thinking? He's thinking, how can I make an arcing run into this area here? And what does he do? He arrives in at the back post. I don't have an example of it, but a cross sort of comes into there and he arrives on the ball. So it's these moments from Fermin that I think he's so sort of, he has that ability to ghost in the box, and it's how we've been using Enzo. And I do think that with Fermin Lopez, we've not even spoke about his sort of intensity off the ball and his movement off the ball. his ability on the half turn. These are all things that Enzo Maresca loves in his pocket player. But at the end of the day, having that player who can do what Enzo Fernandez has been doing, and he's been doing it so well over the past year, but it isn't sort of his primary natural role. Whereas for Fermin, this is exactly his role, and I think that could be key. This as well, his scanning is top. If you watch a game and just focus on Fermin Lopez, I sat back through last night before making this video. I went and watched the Villarreal game, and I watched it might have been Bilbao, I think. I watched 2 more games last night to watch full 90s of Fermin Lopez after I'd sort of watched my all actions bits and bobs I could sort of get through Wisecout and bits. But Fermin Lopez, his ability to just scan and consistently check in his positioning between these lines, I think it's perfectly made for the Premier League, because the amount of sort of man-to-man pressing schemes where they want these defenders to cover that space, but you also need these players to sort of be screening off and stopping that ball from getting into Lopez. His ability to sort of understand where that centre-back is, and he can sort of check to see how far that centre-back away from him is, see if Lewandowski's movement or the striker's movement is going to leave space for him to attack in behind. But also, he's keeping an eye on, like, where is the space in between these sort of passing gates that we always talk about here? How can he manoeuvre himself to receive that ball? Because he's brilliant on the half turn. I think the next few examples, I've got one in a second that sort of speaks about that. But his ability to sort of keep an eye on things and read the game and use his IQ to that extent is so good. And that is why I think Enzo Maresca would absolutely love him in that pocket, because he is perfect to be in that pocket. He can play on either side in the pocket. Again, here you've got Lewandowski sort of taking the ball away from away from play. He's stepping over here. Then you've got Fermin Lopez. He'll attack in the space in behind, because look, that defensive line, you've got one stepping forward, so the big gap is going to be between these two, and that's where Fermin is going to sort of look to attack into that space. Here you've got him receiving between the lines. He's moved over to sort of receive between this passing gate in the middle. He's going to receive that pass through the block into his feet, and then he's able to sort of take that on the half turn. Again, he knows that if he takes that touch into this space here, he's got more space to go into, because you've got a player here who's going to sort of obstruct the space if he tries to take it over towards that side of the pitch. And of course, on his right foot, so he can step onto his back foot, receive the ball here, and play out wide with ease. I think is this next example. Yeah, he takes it on that back foot, and he's already facing the space over here. The defender can't jump, and he knows that because he's already scanned and he's already aware of this situation where the defenders are both sort of pinned back by Lewandowski. And it's these sort of clever movements that make Fermin Lopez so key and such a smart midfielder. But as I say, it's more than just his intelligence and his quality on the ball. It's also how he reads the game, how intense he is on and off the ball, that I think Enzo Maresca would absolutely love about him. Because what I think is Fermin, what he offers you is he is genuinely the role that Enzo Fernandez is playing and having to do, which he's doing brilliantly, because he's getting the goals, he's getting the assists. I think he is literally what you would be getting with Fermin is like the exact player that you'd want for the Fernandez role, in the sense that defensively he's an absolute sort of workhorse in terms of pressing. He's a bit of a mixture between like Enzo Fernandez and Gallagher for Chelsea fans, I would say, in the sense of like he is so energetic and tenacious off the ball, but he's also like, he is just so clever, and he's got the IQ levels like Fernandez, like his, you can see that he's come through at La Masia. You can see he's got that sort of football ideology and coaching in him, that his movement in spaces is top notch. Like his ability to receive in these sort of half space pockets, whichever side he's on, brilliant on the half turn. He's brilliant at positioning himself between the lines to receive that ball. His movement to sort of shake his marker in these positions, in terms of rolling into the middle to receive it on the half turn, sort of receiving on the back foot in these sort of zones here where we see, oh, that's an arrow, where we see a lot of the time our players will sort of peel wide into those areas. He's brilliant at sort of peeling off, receiving on the back foot, and then sort of taking that first touch into space into here, or even sort of first time pass or flick round the corner to sort of find that man, find his winger, or find it inside. He's very good at sort of those quick one touch movements, which really helps with his IQ, which is very good. like I say, very good in those pocket scenarios. But what he's so good at is those sort of third man runs. And why I say it's perfect for Maresca and perfect for the system is, if I actually put it into sort of the role that we'd see more often last year, let's just put that as Palmer for now, just because, like, let's say it's something we saw more often last season. This sort of 3-2-4-1. With Fermin between the lines, what he's so good at, and what I tried to speak about a lot last season, is you would drop in and you would sort of form this pentagon, right? Is what I would call it, from build up. Now, a lot of people saw it as the box, but what would happen is the striker would drop into this position to form this pentagon, with the idea being that as this player, of course, drops in, now that was Jackson at times, but this could be Pedro now, drops in, sort of forcing these players to follow, or one of the players. The idea is for that ball to go into someone like João Pedro's feet, who can then sort of play that third man combination and have this runner off the back. So you've got Fermin bursting off the back, you've got Palmer who could be bursting off the back. But what it was last season is it was Enzo. And Enzo's got so much better at that. But he's not got the same athleticism and tenacity in his movement to sort of attack that last line with those third man combinations. Whereas Fermin, that is, for me, what he is best at, is that sort of ability to attack the last line and get in behind and crash the box. So he is like, if I was to sort of try to explain what his role would be in this team, is it would be another version of Enzo, but who is slightly even more molded to already being that role. Whereas Enzo needed a little bit of time to sort of build into it, because he is a little bit more of a sort of like technician and creator, where he sort of wants the ball to feet a little bit more. He wants to turn and face so that he can play that ball into the channel. He can play it in behind, and he can sort of set the tempo of his passing. Whereas Fermin is a little bit more of a give and go player, where he will sort of show in this pocket. And like I say, he'll sort of play a first time and then he's gone. He wants to attack the box. He wants to get in behind and use that tenacity with his relentless running as well. And this is something that I've spoken about in the past as well when I've spoken about Garnacho. Having those players that are off-ball movers and runners, Fermin is exactly what you need in that sense. And he'd give that. Because, like I say, like when you've got players like Palmer, ball to feet, Esteval, if he's playing ball to feet a little bit more, what you do need is you need these players that are willing to make runs in behind. And if you've got that in one with Fermin, you can even, and another thing that I think you would love about him, by the way, is the idea that he can play in either pocket. And you've seen with Maresca, sometimes he wants the strong foot in the correct pocket. So like he'll sometimes put Palmer on the left half space. The same with Fermin. You can put him on that right half space on his right foot in order to sort of aid that progression and keep it on the outside of the block and make it quicker. But then you can also sort of flip them round so that they've got better shooting angles and sort of ability to cut inside and put those balls into the box with those sort of in-swingers. There's so many different sort of iterations that you can use it with.